Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Daily Tottenham, and this one is a crossover episode with the Daily Man United. And I have Cormac with me today. Hello, Cormac. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah. Looking forward.
Mate.
Yeah.
It's through gritted teeth. Where we spoke before this started, and I said, "Well, you know what? It's a strange situation we both find ourselves in, mate, isn't it?"
Absolutely. I mean, United season as a United fan has just been brutal. But as I was saying, I kind of forget, like, Spurs, you're having just as bad as a season. I think in 14th, we're up in 13th. So yeah, it's been complete contrast really to last season, both just slipping down. And yeah, it's quite unbelievable, really.
It's a crazy situation we both find ourselves in regards to ownership. You guys have been through it previously anyway. Is it wishful thinking for us Spurs fans to want to change ownership, or will it make the difference? How have you guys found it? Because you went through that process. It was a long and drawn out process, and you had someone come in and buy it. And against you guys at the weekend, we will have some demonstrations outside, a really big organised one, and we'll have some stuff happening inside the ground as well. It's so hard when you hear stuff like that as a Spurs fan, because you want to back the team, but at the same point, there's a bigger thing afoot, and you kind of have to take a viewpoint on that as well. How have you guys found it since your new ownership?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they've only been in since the summer, so I think time will tell. But I mean, I think the summer business they done was fantastic. You look at the recent years, United were just splashing cash, buying players who just don't pan out at all. So I thought their business this summer was really sensible, although it was for Ten Hag, his kind of signings. Maybe not now, they're working out under Amareem, but I thought like Matthijs de Ligt for around £40 million was, a great deal. Mazraoui for £18 million, I think, is up there as one of, the signings of the season in terms of getting bang for buck. And it was just a nice change of pace, getting new owners in and kind of doing more sensible signings, because years before that, you're looking at players like Di Maria, we're splashing cash on, flopped. Like even Mason Mount a few seasons ago of 60 million, 65 million pounds, and he's barely even played for us.
What has happened to him? Is he's injured?
Yeah,
Does he just not suit the style now, or is he totally gone off the ball?
Yeah, no, well, it's another muscle injury I believe he has, but it's a shame because in pre-season, he was looking decent, and then I know Amareem was talking about how Mount really would suit his 5-2-2-1 play style, whatever the formation is. But yeah, no, it's a shame because
you don't know the formation.
Well, no, I mean, it's kind of hard because we're used to playing with wingers so much, but now I think it's like kind of a blend of attacking mid wingers. But no, it's Mount. It's a shame because I really would like to see him in the system. I think he'd thrive. I think his pressing and stuff would be great. It's just a shame because at Chelsea I thought he's a great player and haven't really got to see him that much at all in the United jersey. Yeah,
I think it's a classic case of, obviously, injuries getting in the way of a run of games where you can actually stamp your authority on a team. But also manager changes, players around you changing. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Amareem's obviously come in, from as a Spurs fan, we've got Ange under a hell of a lot of pressure at the moment. Still splits the Spurs fan base regards to if they want him in and want him out. Is he the reason? Is the style of play the reason? They're getting injuries, etc., etc. There's no doubt that that's obviously had an impact on the match team going forward and how we've been actually doing in the league and now the Cups, unfortunately. But, I'm speaking to a Man United fan here who, Christ, we are both favourites to win the Europa, to be fair. So ironically, if we do get through, we could play each other in the final. And to save a season, that would be phenomenal, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, United have been looking really good in Europa League, unbeaten. So, yeah, I think might be the same for you. But I think for United now, top 4 European football and the league's kind of slipping away. So I'm thinking these cup competitions really should be more of an emphasis put on it. But, yeah, I mean, if United and Spurs were to get that, I think that would be one of the most, I'd say, tantalising matches in a while with how much is on the line for both big clubs. It's not even get any European football. It's obviously a disappointment for both.
but you might get something by the FA Cup, and obviously you're going to be all right with VAR being introduced now? Or?
Yeah, honestly, I completely forgot it was not even in it, and then just looking at that goal, I don't know how the linesman missed it, the Maguire goal against Leicester last minute. I mean, there's 3 or 4 players offside, but look, it's not there. What can you do about it? We move on. Yeah.
Exactly. No point complaining about it. And
No.
I felt sorry for Ruud van Nistelrooy because his team played relatively well, to be fair, but away from home. But hey, that's the luck, isn't it? And I guess it brings over that age-old question in regards to VAR being introduced. Is it better without it? And just move on? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, as an Irish fan, we all remember the Thierry Henry handball. I know every Irish fan back then would say VAR was a must. So I think just for moments like that, I know VAR like slows the game down, and you can obviously, when it comes to millimeters and stuff, it's really just who's behind the VAR room or up top. But I think for the game, I think it's better than it is worse. I think they catch a lot of things that would go astray. So yeah, although it slows it down, I think VAR is for the betterment of the game. But I know it is a big talking point between fans.
I think you're right, and I definitely am an advocate of it. It's just when it's introduced in a cup competition, and some teams aren't used to it, and some officials aren't used to it either, or they're too used to using it. And I'll be okay because I'll flag later on, and it will go back to VAR if I'm wrong. So it's a catch-all, isn't it? So difficult, but hey, you guys are in the next round, so congratulations. We obviously suffered quite badly as per usual at the weekend. And to be fair, Villa were there to the taking. I didn't think they were anything special. We just didn't play very well. And as I said, combination of tiredness and things like that. How are you finding Amareem?
Yeah, I was very excited when Amareem came in, because a few weeks before that, they beat City in the Champions League, and I was like, wow, we're really getting this guy. I do think it's a sense of he doesn't have the players he wants. It's a lot of Ten Hag's players, like we keep saying on our podcast, a lot of these players just don't fit in the system. Like Joshua Zirkzee, he's not really an out-and-out striker, but
what is he?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I feel
where can you fit him in?
I feel like more of like, honestly, a playmaker role would suit, but we have kind of 2 that they kind of play as wingers, so that doesn't really suit him. So it's kind of tough fitting him in. And then even like Bruno's having to drop deeper in the past, playing a 4-3-3. Bruno was kind of sitting ahead of 2 defensive mids, dictating play. And now he's dropping deeper, and we've had obviously Luke Shaw's been a huge miss, so we've had to chop and change with fullbacks. Like we've seen Amad Diallo, a few times he's played right wing back, he's been phenomenal. But even just having to play wingers back there. But no, the thing I like to see about Amareem, I think he's very gung-ho with like his formation. I think he really wants to stick to that 5 back, and I think just when it's not working, you have to try to change things up. And I'd like to see a bit more adaptability with him. When we're playing the likes of Southampton, who we just scraped by, they were dominating us really for the most of the game. And we shouldn't really be set up to, defend and counterattack against clubs like that. We should be on the forefront. So yeah, I'd like to see a bit more adaptability from Amareem, but it's only a few months in the job, and I think he does need some signings. We just got Patrick Dorgu, so hopefully he'll come into his own. But yeah, I think just a bit more time with Amareem. But yeah, the results have just been poor, and we have been useless really lately.
Well, you echoed what a lot of Spurs fans said about wanting to change and adaptability of tactics in particular in matches, and that's certainly something which Ange doesn't want to do. He's very stuck in his ways, and he's obviously had the season pre anyway. He's got some players in which he wanted. And no doubt when we've got a first 11 on the pitch, we can compete with most teams, if not all the teams, to be fair, on our given day. But you get some injuries and your squad isn't deep enough. You can't do anything then. So I guess that's the other issue after that point, isn't it? The quality, even if you've brought some players to fill the bench, they know they're being filled for the bench, and they're also not going to be this type of quality which typically Man United have had, because they've had good young players coming through who are world-class players, to be fair, or will be. So it's that balance, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. And, we've had Kobbie Mainoo come through in recent years. Even he's kind of finding his feet in this system. But yeah, no, Amareem is giving Toby Collier, I think, who's looked really good in the few games he played.
He looks decent, yeah.
Yeah, he does really. I thought against Rangers in the Europa League, he was phenomenal. And obviously we've signed Aidan Heaven from Arsenal recently, so I'm excited to see him. So yeah, no, getting a good crop of young players in and giving them time is definitely key. And yeah, just making the right signs. I think even the business Ineos are doing, it's kind of getting more players who want to play for the badge, I think, more than in the past where they're just coming for big wages, really.
Ideal. Right, let's have a quick break, and after the break we'll have a quick chat about what the heck we can do to get our owners changed. If possible, we'll get some tips from the Man United faithful, and then we'll talk a bit more about the possible lineups, and I'll have a look at the previous histories in the Premier League for the last couple of seasons as well. All right.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
I think I could probably say that off by heart. That whole thing now. I mime it every time it plays. So back to Man United Spurs. So over previous history, last match in the league I think was 19th of December, which you lost 4-4, so 4-3 win for Spurs. 29th of September, one before that, again lost that one 3-0 away. All right. Then we have 14th of January 2024, 2-2 draw. 19th of August 2023, 2-0 win. In fact, you have to go back to 19th of October 2022 when you last won a 2-0 win.
Wow.
So in the league,
2.5 years now.
Yeah, in the league, it's been but I think that shows how open both sides are and attacking minded they are anyway, or not very good at defending, to be fair.
Yeah.
As well. So there always are exciting matches and there always goals. So we'll talk about match predictions later on, but this has 0-0 written all over it.
Oh yeah,
I'm now absolutely tempted fate. So who the heck knows?
No.
If you wanted to have any player from the past, who would you have back in your team?
Oh, any player from the past.
Because you've had some hell of a players.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the list is endless. Yeah, I mean, right now we need so many, but I think I have to say we've been struggling to score goals. I think, and I think Cristiano Ronaldo has to be the one you take back. He was phenomenal at United. So sad he left when he did to go to Madrid. But what an absolute fantastic player. Privileged he got to play for United twice, even coming back a few years ago.
Yeah, and he was good in his second spell as well.
Oh, he was,
his record was pretty decent, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was just that he was a different animal then, and bigger than the club, I would say, in some respects.
Yeah, and scored a decent hat-trick against Spurs too.
Well, we don't talk about that. Move along. It must have been hard for Ruvan Nistelrooy, because he was a prolific striker as well. Just watching and seeing the team, which he does love, because obviously until recently he was managing them for a caretaker period, which is ironic. He must be looking at it thinking, God, I could still play here. I could do something at top still, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel sorry for those lads, even every time they show Fergie on stands, having to watch this football, because, from what United were so dominant to what it is now, it's just sad to watch, really. But no, I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy, honestly, going back to when he was managers for those few games, I was really impressed with him. We had 3 wins and a draw in that span, and we were playing like good football. We actually played Leicester twice in those games and battered them both times. I think if we hadn't honestly given Amareem the contract, I would have been absolutely over the moon if we had kept Ruud on, because I thought he was doing a fantastic job. And obviously now he's in a bit of relegation battle with Leicester. He went into a job that wasn't going well there, but I really like Ruud, and I'd love to see him turn around there. Yeah,
I think he's no doubt he's a good manager. I think that sometimes when you have elite level players and they turn into managers, they almost expect the players to do what they could do, and sometimes it doesn't come through. So when you're working with lesser players, it can be a little bit frustrating, I'd imagine. Especially, why is he not finishing that? Why is he not taking the extra touch? Well, exactly. Because they haven't got the skill set to be able to do it, or they're not you, if that makes sense. So it must be quite difficult for a top level one to be able to do that. And when you see people doing well, past players who are absolutely unbelievable players, Zidane, something like that, well, there's probably a reason why Zidane hasn't come and managed Millwall or with respect to Millwall, sorry guys, or Plymouth Argyle, whoever else, because you're only going to get a certain amount of quality of player from them, aren't you? And you may as well go out and get the best and do well at Real Madrid, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So when you were obviously linked with coaches like Zidane and stuff, I think that wasn't too many years ago, and you did have a reasonable team then. But again, it's just a setup, I guess, really as well. And the main attraction would be the coach. And where are you now with your stadium and stuff like that? Then, because I'm going to talk about my Magic Stadium. Of course, I am, because that's all that Spurs is now. Great venue for any concert or NFL game.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, your stadium is quality. I love watching games. Staying the wall behind the goal looks unreal, to be fair. But yeah, no, in terms of Old Trafford, I believe Ineos want to build a completely new stadium, because Old Trafford obviously is due for an upgrade, but I don't think they can expand it much more than it already is in terms of capacity and modernise it that much. So I know Ineos have been looking at just building a whole new, brand new stadium. I think at even a different site, which it's a shame because Old Trafford is so iconic. It's survived World War II even, and it's just been around for so long. And I honestly would be devastated if Ineos follow through and actually build a brand new one and got rid of Old Trafford, because it is so iconic. But I do get from their point of view, like United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I'm sure if you bump the attendance up to like 90,000, you still be selling most of the tickets. So I get it on a business side, but from a football side, I really hope Old Trafford stays.
Well, we had this conversation on the Spurs podcast earlier, where what can you do to stop to change owners, and will fans be able to, we're not going to watch the match, nobody turn. That's never going to happen, because there's always people who will take it. If you give your season tickets back, there's always people there who will say, okay, I can understand the situation, but I'm not going to have a chance of getting a season ticket. This is the only chance I'm getting one, because it might not be for this season, but it's for the rest of the seasons moving forward. You've pretty much got no chance of getting one unless someone passes away, unfortunately, or gets so fed up they rip it up and that's it, or COVID happens and things like that. So it's a difficult one. Businesses, and they're widespread, they don't become it's not really although it's a club for the local community, it's not really at all. It's just in the community, and the community benefits from that. So I think if you look at what happened with Spurs, basically they didn't want them to move out in that area because it would have killed the area. There's so many businesses there, so they did as much as they could do, change transport links, etc., to make it still viable there. And we had to go through a process where we could obviously play our games at Wembley. But ever since that move, just for the Man United fans listening, we've been pretty dire on the football pitch. It hasn't correlated to any increase. All it's done is change the animal of what we are as Tottenham Hotspur Football Club as a business. We're certainly not a football team currently, and that soul's gone out of it, and that's what you guys are trying to get back, I guess, yourself as well. So it's really weird how we're in that same sort of place, arguably fighting for a very similar position in the league currently as well, and with two teams who, although you're going through transition, you've got a manager who's not been in there very long. We've got somebody who is suffering with X amount of injuries, and he is aged by 50 odd years in this season, I think. And I feel really sorry for the guy, but it's football. And at some point we're kind of waiting just for the chop of Ange, unfortunately, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too soon.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to ask, what the consensus being, you think, amongst the Spurs fans? Because, I feel like if United manager, obviously, I think gets a bit more pressure, but, Ten Hag was under the gun very early on the season, even when we were only 7th, 8th. And now we've dropped off much even worse. And people were calling, for him to get sacked very early on the season. So do you think consensus kind of amongst the Spurs fans now is for him to get the chop?
They're split. They have been split for a long time. Obviously, when you get a new manager, there's always going to be people who are saying, "Why are you getting that person in?" And I think that there is an element of he's not going to throw his toys out the pram and do something to get himself sacked. So realistically, he's there and just almost a nod and dog in some respect, without being disrespectful to him. Whereas we've had top managers who have fallen out with Levy quite quickly and called him out on it, and they couldn't really stay in the positions after that, could they? You call out the boss. To be fair, there's only one boss in a workplace, so that's happened quite a lot. I can't see that happen to Levy, and as long as the money comes in, I think ENIC are pretty okay. But on the footballing side of it, I would have backed him to the end of the season just to give some stability. Changing the manager. Again, we speak about on our Spurs podcast, but for the Man United fans, changing the manager right now does nothing. We're still in Europa. God, that's what we have to go for, and hope our players are back in the team for that, and we give it our best shot. As a league position, that's going to get better, sure it is, and it will get better for Man U as well. Just got to find some rhythm and get a settled team and find a formation that works for Man U, I guess. But for us, yeah, we've really got to. I would stick behind him. There's no point changing the manager. There's no managers out there who will come in now anyway, and work with Ange. Ange is the problem, and when people say it to his face, they aren't there for very long, unfortunately. And that goes for players too. Players have questioned the backing of the manager because they can see it every day, and they can see their fellow teammates getting injured because of workload, and yet things aren't done, or things are done very late, or things are done just for to get a bit of media coverage. Oh, we put an X amount of bid in for Mark Gay on the last day of this transfer window. Well, that's never going to happen because they've got to replace that person, even if the money was right. So they know this. And so Spurs fans in general, from the ones I speak to, are still massively split on whether he should stay or go. Everyone doesn't want Levy in charge or ENIC in charge. They want something changing at the top, because that's the only way we can get that, as Man United have found, that kind of change in what we do and offer all the way through the club. You want to be playing for your owner, don't you? And you want that person to be a football person end of the day, and that's not what he is, unfortunately. He's seen a lot of football, but how much he actually cares about it, we don't know. Well, we do. It's very little, in my opinion. So after the break, we'll talk about possible lineups, etc., for the weekend, and then we do the score prediction. It's never right, but we'll do then.
Do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences to engage with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easy to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, your nose, and 20 other speech patterns, Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Welcome back. So, team news. What's going on with Man U? Are they still playing Kobe Manu as a secondary striker? What's going on?
Against Palace, everyone's seen that. But no, last game, the Leicester City FA Cup clash, we reverted back to Highland, and then Xerxes come on as well later. The only real team news that's come in the past is Lisandro Martinez, tearing his ACL, out for the season, which is a huge loss for us.
Good
absolutely.
player.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously the second bit of team news is we got Patrick Dorgu in from Lecce, I think around £35 million. So
who? I'm joking.
I mean, to be fair, before I was getting reported, I wasn't too familiar with him either. But
you've done YouTube, haven't you? He looks good on YouTube.
Exactly. He played, I think, just a half against Leicester there. Funnily enough, he actually played right wing back. Not sure why. I thought we'd buy a left wing back to play a left wing back. Anyway, don't know what Amareem's cooking. Hopefully Dorgu. I think Amareem's system relies a lot on these, wing backs. So I think once Dorgu gets a few games under as well, I'm hoping results will really start to blossom. The real only team news is we have Dorgu and Eden Heaven in, although I don't think he'll play much. And then Martinez obviously is the one out, along with then Luke Shaw and Mount, who've been out for a while.
Yeah. I think he's just tinkering there to try and find the right layout, isn't he? And exactly. I guess that he's probably, what would you say, 4 players short of getting what he wants. Would that include another striker, do you think? Because obviously you had the guy at Sporting. So
I think definitely striker. And I mean, Gyökeres, I think, has to be who will go for in the summer.
The money's got to be on that happening, surely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, so familiar with Amareem, brought him in from Coventry City, and has just been lighting up the Portuguese league, and even had a hat-trick against City in the Champions League. I think he has to be number one. Xerxes, as we talked about earlier, just don't think he's an out-and-out striker. And then we paid a lot of money for Rasmus Højlund, but Højlund's still young and he just really isn't that reliable. He'll have spells where he'll score goals, but I mean, recently he just hasn't been doing much, and his general play really just hasn't been that good either. I think a striker, we're not scoring as many goals as we like. I think a striker has to be top of the list. And if we could get Gyökeres, I would be delighted with that.
I think for a Man United striker, you either go out and buy a big money player like you did previously, and hopefully they will work. Some of them have, not always been failures. But you need something about you. You need something a bit special, even if it's raw. I don't necessarily think he has that. I think he's a hard-working player, but I'm not sure that's his level, in my own opinion. That's just for me watching him. Mm-hmm. For instance, I look at the players which we brought in for our youngsters, and I think, Bergvall would do well in the Man United. Obviously, he was touted for Man U as well. I think he'd do well because he's got something about him in particular. And Gray, well, I don't know because we haven't seen his proper position yet, to be fair.
He's been playing all over.
Yeah, he has. He's been for me player of the season, to be fair. But I think for us, we've got a few players coming back. We've got Vicario, we've got Maddison and Udogie, who are mooted to come back into the team at some point, will be available for the weekend. It'd be interesting to see what Ange does. He hasn't rushed them back. Apparently they've been ready before now, but he's not rushed them back in. I think he will be playing them at some point. Whether or not they start, I don't know. I think we would like to see, as Spurs fans, we'll probably like to see Udogie replace Porro. So we've got Spence and Udogie, and keep Gray and Davies in the centre, I guess, or the new guy Danso. He did a good job, actually, to be fair. So Days, I will do that. Gray and Danso in the centre. Midfield has been a bit of a problem over the last couple of games, not because of Bergvall, he's been playing well, but we haven't, pretty much like you guys, we haven't really got the quality, in my opinion, or they haven't lived up to it in Basuma. Who a lot of fans now just want to get rid of him because he's just so unreliable. He doesn't show up, unfortunately. And even Bentancur, which is a fan's favourite, and who's, I've raved about some of his performances as well. The last couple of matches, he's not been great. So a bit frustrating on that side of it. But strikers, again, we've got Sonny, who needs a rest. He's not going to rest him. He'll play him again. But I would love him to have a rest and just play Mikey Moore on the left. Maybe he won't play Scarlett because he doesn't trust him from the start. He might bring him on. He'll play Tell, and then he'll play Kulusevski, who also needs a rest. In fact, lots of them need a rest. So who knows what's going to happen. Maddison is obviously there to bring into the midfield. I don't know if he'll start him, but he would be great for creativity, even against other teams like Leicester. There were gaps there where he could have done something. He could have done something to it, but he just wasn't available. So it's a shame. But where do you think where are the things we can look out for with regards to frailties of Man United? Don't say all over, because I'll probably say that for Spurs.
You touched on the midfield. We've kind of been chopping, changing there. Obviously, under Ten Hag, Casemiro was a player there, although he's kind of coming, at the end of his career, not as good as he once was. So I feel like we've kind of struggled to find those two defensive mids. Ugarte, I think, has been decent enough. Obviously, still finding his feet, but he's shown a bit of bite, a bit of hunger in that midfield, and I've been a fan of his. And then recently, we've been dropping Bruno kind of in the defensive midfield role as well. But as we know, Bruno really isn't that kind of player. So I think around those areas, Spurs could maybe find some success. You said if Maddison comes back, operate in that area, I think could be quite dangerous. And then obviously, I mean, up front, I don't think you have too much to worry about maybe on the counter attack. It depends really if Højlund or Xerxes is going to be up there. Højlund has a lot more pace and could possibly cause problems in behind, combining with Garnacho and Diallo as well. But I think, touching on Diallo, I think he's the one to watch for us. He's been fantastic.
Well, he scored 2 against us in the cup, didn't he?
Exactly. He's been just like against Southampton, scored a hat-trick, pulled us out of a game we should have lost, really. I think he's the one to watch out for us. And then obviously all season really set pieces. I think that's where we're most vulnerable. Arsenal had their way with us. Many teams had their way with us on set pieces. So I think that's where he could be dangerous as well. I think he might have even bagged one last time he scored actually from a direct corner against us in the cup. I think those are areas he could possibly exploit.
Set pieces are one of the ones where we, depending on who's in goal, that will dictate whether or not we're going to be good at set pieces. If Vicario comes back, he gives a lot of leadership, but on corners he's not commanding enough. But he's a better shot stopper than Kingsley, in my opinion. So it's a real toss up between those two, to be fair. I mean, we're like you. We could be probably beaten with most things. In pushing forward too much, space behind, midfield having massive gaps in it. Dropping too deep in midfield and there being gaps there. Maddison has played the same role as Fernandes is currently, and to be honest, it doesn't suit him. He's more of a front foot player. No. That's why he works better on the break, turning quickly, like Fernandes does, to be putting those sliding balls through for your wingers, and we just haven't had the wingers to be able to do that. Tell looks a decent buy, and I think he will get a few goals before the end of the season as well. He's already got one, obviously, in the last match, but that was just an opportunity to cross and goal, and it was too late, unfortunately. So we shall see. What's your score prediction?
Yeah, I think, honestly, you're on to something early with the 0-0. I'm going to say, I think a 1-1 draw. I just think the way the clubs are, they're so tight now, bottom half of the table, I think United have been struggling to score a lot. I just see it kind of being a low-scoring one, even though we've had kind of higher-scoring ones in the past. I think this one's just set up for a low-scoring one, so I'm going to go a 1-1 draw.
Interesting. There'll be a lot of nervousness, both sides, because we both need points. 1 point's not really enough, is it? To be fair, if you're going to share it, I'm going to stick with what I said on a Spurs podcast earlier on. I'm going to go for 2-0 to us. Totally unfounded. No reason for saying that. And there's a clean sheet which we can't keep. So I'm just hoping for something. I don't know. I won't put any money on it. So we'll see. Look, it's been really good meeting you and having you on the show today. That's about all we've got, I believe. Anything else you want to say about Spurs, Man U?
No, I'm hoping, you beat us the last 2 times. So, I mean, although I said a draw, I really hope we can break the curse and the 3rd time's the charm for us and we come to Tottenham Stadium and win.
Fantastic. Well, look, everybody's been listening to the Daily Tottenham crossover with Daily Man United. Look forward to the game this weekend. For all information, please go on to our YouTube channel, which is Global Sports Podcast Network Limited. You can find lots of stuff on there and lots of podcasts from all across the Premier League. Also follow us on the social channels as well, which is GSPN Tottenham. Is that correct? What's yours? GSPN?
Daily Man United. Yeah.
Daily Man United. Yeah, well, I was Daily Tottenham as well. Yeah, that makes more sense. Fantastic. Until next time, you've been listening to Daily Tottenham. We shall speak to you soon.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.